today we're going to be reacting to a video. Patrick Bet David, Joe Rogan. Man, listen. You haven't seen it.
I haven't.
Woo, man. Some people think they know who controls the world. Yes, sir. You about to be blown away. I can't wait till y'all hear this stuff, man. It's insane. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into the video.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Rogan experience.
How much, Joe, have you looked at, Larry Fink, Soros, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock? How much have you looked at what they're doing and what their ties are?
I've looked at it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're pretty much running everything.
Yeah.
S&P 500, the number that 88% of the companies on S&P 500, 88% of them, the largest shareholder of those companies is either State Street, BlackRock, or Vanguard. 88% of them, okay? And then you see their influence in defense contracts, okay? So we went through a deal. I'm like, let me see if these guys, this ESG, Larry Fink, Vanguard, State Street, if they have any influence on military contract, defense contracts. If
Bruh,
you
let me
Google
pause that
the
right here, bruh. When he said this, I went to Google. I promise you. You should do the same.
88%.
88%. They're the largest shareholders.
The
in those
largest,
companies.
not just a shareholder, a majority. The largest.
The largest. When he said that, I went to Google. I typed it in. Name a company. Bank of America.
Lowe's.
Bank of America. Go do
Bank
it
of
right
America.
now. Type it in. Largest shareholders of Lowe's. Largest shareholders of Bank of America. Large BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock. I was like, they own everything.
Wow.
JP Morgan Chase.
Yeah.
BlackRock, State Street.
Even them.
Even them.
What?
Lululemon. Name them all. It don't matter. Chewy. The freaking
Pet.
I'm like, what y'all need to influence them for? Freaking dogs.
They're animals. They can't even speak.
They own it though, bro. They own everything.
Wow.
They own everything. It's insane.
88%. Yeah, that's everything. 88%.
Damn near everything. If
These are the Fortune 500.
these are the top
best,
companies
cream
in
of
the
crop. Yeah.
S&P 500 companies. Crazy.
shareholder for Raytheon. 3 out of the 4 top shareholders of Raytheon, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. It could be top 3 with Raytheon, but I think it's 3 out of 4. If you go look up General Dynamics, if you go look up Boeing, if you go look up, Northrop Grumman, okay?
Woo.
And then you work backwards.
Boeing.
And you say, okay, how much money is that in what these guys are doing? You'll find the amount of money we spent in our military, $744 billion on how much we're making from defense, but you'll see some numbers saying last year it's 13% of our GDP, which is around $850 billion. That's more than the next 10 combined. We gave more money to Ukraine than Russia spent on their military last year.
Wow.
And when you look at these contracts, then you're like, okay,
that.
Fink is there, these guys are there. Okay, let's go look at Hollywood.
I wonder if that's
Same thing you
accounting.
see there.
The
Let's go
accounting
look at-
error.
Oh, the
I
6
wonder
billion.
I wonder if that's even counting
was
that.
it 6 or 8 billion? That
I thought
they
it was
just
6. Yeah, I thought it was
Oh,
6.
we just so happen to miss. How you mistakenly give away $6 billion?
250-year-old country just.
We apologize, y'all. We mistakenly gave away $6 billion. What,
Wow.
bro? That's
More than the entire country of Russia spends.
on their military,
No wonder this thing got so many views.
right? Because it's real.
Wow.
Crazy.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Pharmaceutical. Let's go look at this. And you're like, wait a minute. These guys essentially have a monopoly. Well, how big is BlackRock? $10 trillion. How big is $10 trillion? Only 2 countries have a bigger GDP than what BlackRock has, assets under management, U.S. and China. That's how big BlackRock is. So then they went and they started getting all these other guys to sign on and say, hey, we want you to participate with the same thing as well with ESG. And they ended up having, I think they had 31 signers. I think end of 2022, they got 60 something signers for a total of $70 trillion of assets under management. that they're controlling.
What?
So now they're controlling other places. And just recently, if you saw the rebuilding of Ukraine, did you see this contract? Rebuilding of Ukraine, $400 billion
I saw
contract.
that logo.
BlackRock and Chase is helping.
What logo?
I saw something about that, like rebuilding. It's like a hashtag or something like that on the side of a bus or something like that. It said rebuilding Ukraine.
Rebuilding Ukraine?
Right.
I guess
it's a slogan.
On
or
the
something
bus?
like
You saw that on the bus?
I saw it on. I believe so. I believe it was a bus. I saw it on something.
Wasn't it weird though? Think about it. Like whenever the Ukraine stuff was happening, when it started, they had Ukrainian flags everywhere. I saw more Ukrainian flags than I saw American flags in America.
Right, for a while, yeah.
But bro,
Wow.
it gets a little fishy. Like, listen to this.
Right.
It gets a little fishy. Like, it's crazy.
70 trillion assets under management. The third biggest economy in the world. Is a company.
Is a company.
Third.
Is a company.
Not 10th or.
It's crazy.
Ukraine. And then, okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but what the hell is going on here? They have that much control to get everybody to do what they want them to do? Yes. So Dylan Mulvaney, who cares? Why? Bud Light. How does that tie up? You got the DEI, the HRC, the human rights, and all this stuff. And then you go even deeper, which is even the crazier part with, the education, schools. Like, the biggest union we have in America, I think it's National Education something. NEA is the largest union we have. 3 million teachers are part of that union. And you look at that and you go deeper in that with open society and who's funding it, who's the money behind these organizations. Comes back, Soros. How do you feel about the kind of power they have right now to fight against them? Because this isn't like a billionaire can come out and say, I'm going to go up against these guys. They don't have a little bit of money. A billionaire to these guys is nothing. They got the kind of control that can make companies fire boards. They can replace CEOs. They can replace leaders if they don't like. They have their hands so much into it where many times when people say the people of power, I'm kind of like, who are the people of power? Are you convinced these guys are really running the world, or what do you think about what
people really think Biden running America? Really?
He's the leader of the free world.
Joe Biden sleep right now.
In certain regards, I guess, but definitely not running much.
Man, he the face. Joe Biden asleep right now, bro. Joe Biden wake up at 12 o'clock.
He's struggling reading the cards that they give him to read, that they already give him. He struggled to even get through that.
Just read this, bro. Just get up there and read this, bro. He out there tripping on himself. He tripping.
Hey.
It's crazy.
These bigger companies are doing, like State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock.
Well, they certainly have massive amounts of influence. What do you think they're doing?
It's the question is, how do you fight it? Like, for example, the way we fight mainstream is by what? The show that we do. And we have to be patient. It's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years. Now you have some influence, right? Okay, we can fight. There is an actual strategy on how to fight that. No problem. You got a kid in school who's a bully. He's bigger than you. He keeps bullying you. You have a strategy on how to beat the guy. You take a year, jiu-jitsu 2 years, this, that. Boom. One fight, he knows, I'm never going to touch Joe again. Screw this thing. I'm not doing this no more, right? There is a play to it. When you have this much, Joe, 88% of S&P 500 companies, that is a form of a monopoly. If I'm a president, whether it's a Trump or whoever else goes out there and does it, our monopoly law in America is 50%. They say 50%. Like if you tie and said, at what point is it 50%? I've done calls with the FTC. Like we had one of our guys, technology we were using. The FTC called and said, hey, we want to have a call with you because they're thinking about buying this other technology company and we're worried it's going to be a monopoly. So we had the call, okay? At the end of the call with us, with a bunch of different people, we said, we love their product, we love their product. That deal didn't end up happening, okay? The monopoly law. Some of these guys are influencing it. But they say 50% is a monopoly law. Do you know how many people in America have an iPhone versus Droid? Do you know what the numbers, market shares in America with iPhones?
I think it's like 60.
58%, 60%. That is already a monopoly. But who's knocking on the door
Crazy.
of Apple? Tim Cook saying, hey, Tim, you got 58%. That's breaking a monopoly.
Think about that. That's Apple is a monopoly. Apple's a monopoly.
Wow, I never looked at it that way.
Me neither. Everybody has an iPhone. Everybody you know has an iPhone.
Right.
They're breaking the monopoly law. According to those antitrust laws or whatever.
Because I'm wondering, like, maybe if, like, the way that they're able to, like, get around it is that, like, oh, we're not just phones. This is all we do, so we're not 50+% of, like, computers and
that's a good point.
headsets. I'm wondering if, like, maybe, like, that's the way they're able to get around it. It seems like that would be the case because, like, oh, we sell headphones too. Like, we sell,
Apple does everything.
You know,
we about to sell cars now.
We have a subscription service, Apple TV. Like, we're not even close to a monopoly in the media space.
Right, but when it comes to phones, they have a monopoly.
Right, but I'm feeling like that's probably how they're able to get around that because, like, they're not just a phone company. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. But what about, like, Facebook whenever they had a monopoly? Like, did they never broke that? They never broke up Facebook.
They didn't. I'm just saying they probably use that same, like,
we're not just
like loophole. Yeah.
We're a technology company kind of thing.
Right. We're an advertising company. Like, you know, people
so
paying
many
for
things.
advertising. That's probably how they probably claim a much broader thing than what they actually are. In order to claim that they're not a monopoly, they claim that, oh, we're a technology company. Like, really?
Because it's like, you remember when back in the day, Rockefeller, his Standard Oil?
Yes.
Standard Oil Company. Mm-hmm. The reason they were able to break it up is because it was an oil company.
Yes. Exactly.
So the reason they broke that is specifically was a monopoly for oil.
Exactly.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way.
Because they have so much technology, you know.
Like, how do you decipher, how do you break? That's a great point. I never really thought about it.
Because we're one company. It's like, how are you going to, like, put all this back with, like, impacting our entire business? But it's like.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. That's a great point.
Nobody is. I think someone's got to break apart. You know, in 1993, I don't know which senator it was, these guys that were trying to get the defense contractors to be better at the pricing, what they were charging, because they were overcharging DOD, and DOD people don't know what the hell is going on. They're like, yeah, okay, how much? $68 million do it. $1.2 billion do it. I'm not going to over-negotiate the money. They took 51 defense companies, and they brought it down to only 5. It's only 5 companies right now when you want to buy anything. Think about that. So defense contractors is 5. We know how these guys make money.
Even really
Earlier,
know what that
I
is.
was asking you a question. Why do you think vaccine? And you're like,
I've heard it like thrown around.
But it's like,
what is it specifically?
It's like,
you don't know? I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah, put it in the comments if you know what a defense contractor. But what I'm thinking is, like, defense contractors is like they get the money for, like, weapons, to build weapons. You know what I'm saying? Defense contracts, like defense weapons. No, does it make sense?
Gotcha. Right.
Because it's you're defending the country, kind of. No.
Contractors.
But they get a contract. So, for example, like Raytheon is a defense contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Boeing is a defense contractor. So they get these contracts from the government to build,
to make military
grade equipment, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's a broad term.
It's a broad term
because there's so many different aspects
of defense. You got guns, you got jets, you got ships.
Ships, yeah.
You got so much, right? You got tech.
Right.
Now they got tech, cyber stuff.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha, understood.
Yes, sir.
I need to watch War Dogs again.
Bro, War Dogs is real, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
We might need to start a War Dogs type of company. What's good?
Right.
If you and I run a hotel, rooms are empty, we're not making money. We need people to stay in the rooms. If you and I are running a hospital, we need people on the beds to make money.
Yeah.
If there's no people on the beds, we ain't making money. If these 5 contractors are fighting for $744 billion, what do they want more of? Wars. They want more people dying. You know the Papa John saying, better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. These guys is more wars, more people dying, more profits, defense contractors, right? That's a valid concern that I have. Because behind closed doors, this whole military-industrial complex, when you look at the numbers, whoever becomes the president, unfortunately, this guy's an anti-establishment president. Good. Unfortunately, if you're an anti-establishment president, everyone's going to come after you, especially these military defense contractors. So if a president got up and said, if I'm going to be the president, here's what we're going to be doing. We have to look at all the contracts. You can't overcharge us. We have to open it up. You have to sell some of your companies. You have to let them be independent again. You have to do this. You have to let them go public, separate, whatever way you got to break them apart to have competition again, because we don't have that today. So that is a major concern where we say we have a commander-in-chief, but really the commander-in-chief is Larry Fink today. The guy running BlackRock is really the president of the United States. If we look at the kind of influence he's got in every industry, Joe. And he's like, well, I kind of feel bad. I'm ashamed that all the weaponization, the word, ESG is being used and all this other stuff. And Elon tweeted about the ESG. I don't know if you remember when Elon tweeted about ESG, saying the S in ESG is satanic. Okay? So this is a part where even a Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's partner, says, look, I love Larry Fink, but I'm not interested in having an emperor. Some words like that he said about Larry Fink. So this motive, and by the way, Larry Fink is an interesting guy because he majored in college political science. His aspirations was politics. He accidentally got into money, and he learned to trade, and then he lost $100 million at 36 years old, I think, and then he teams up with Schwartzman, and they start this company. And after a couple
it's giving Illuminati type vibes. You remember?
Wow.
Bro, you remember back then people used to try to tell us stuff like this and we wouldn't believe it?
Yeah.
I kind of believed it back then, but then it got to a point where I was like, I don't know if it's real. I don't think there's these kind of people that are elite that are trying to run the world. It's
I heard
obvious.
that they were, I was hearing some wild stuff back then that they had ways to control their weather even to an extent and stuff
I heard
like
that. Before.
And with the power and stuff
Look how
they
much
have
power
now,
they have.
who
bro.
knows what they can do these days. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
But think about it. They control
incredible.
88%.
Yeah.
They control 88% of.
And people think these are independent companies. Yeah, but the companies are owned by shareholders.
Right.
And whoever has the biggest share, that means you get the biggest say in what a company does, what they stand for, what they believe, what services and products they market. So and it's the most ninja way too, because it's not all under one company, because that would be too easy for you to point them out and be like, oh dang, look at that big guy right there. But it's if we're just the majority of all these different names, you would never until now, it'd be hard for you to point it back to this same source,
right,
that's controlling all this power.
Bro, and you just said something crazy. You just said all these companies, right? If you go and look at the companies they own, typically if you're a shareholder of a company, you're not going to invest in your competition. Does that make sense? Let's say they invest in it all.
Wow, I never thought of that. Yeah.
You're not going to invest in your competition.
Right.
You want this company that you've put all this money in to be the winner.
Right.
To have the market share.
They don't care.
They don't care about market share. They own it all.
Exactly, because they own it all.
They own it all.
Wow.
Woo!
So it's I wonder if I don't even know if this is possible. We're just chopping it up.
Right.
If maybe a way to fight against this is to limit the amount of companies you have a majority share in, but it's
how can you stop that?
How can you stop that? Yeah,
Legally, how can you tell them?
Yeah.
And then Vivek brought up something good because these companies like Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, they're typically 401k companies. They long-term assets, investments, right? What they're doing is, I was listening to Elon and Vivek. Vivek, they were saying that they're coming. What's going to happen over time if people wake up? there's going to be the largest antitrust lawsuit in the history of America because they're deceiving investors. Because the goal for whenever you give money, let's say when you're giving money to your 401k, these companies are supposed to be doing the best for you, and you're supposed to be trying to maximize shareholder value, profits.
Right.
That's the goal.
Right.
What they're doing is not trying to do that. What they're doing is in the name.
How can you, if you're investing in competition and all that? How can you care about
like
maximizing
returns?
shareholder value when you're equally, or if not even more, invested? Imagine that scenario. Like, okay, you're telling me that you care about shareholder value when like you literally have a even bigger investment in the competition. How you don't care? You don't care. Wow, that's a great point.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's
we'll see what
way.
happens. That's one way.
The person to really like bust up trust was Theodore Roosevelt. They called him the trust buster.
For real? What do you do?
I forgot all of them, but like since then, because the technology moves so fast, it's like they haven't been able to like really bust up trust like that. Like back in the steel and oil and railroads.
Oh, he was the one.
That. Like he was the one that was like.
So he was the one that went against the like, robber barons,
busting up. Yeah. The trust back then, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if my memory serves me right, that's around when he was. But I mean, we haven't like had like real
somebody
regulation around monopolies like that, basically like since him, and that's because the technology moving so fast that these old senators like they can't keep up. They can't keep up.
Have you seen some whenever they do these hearings? They don't even know.
Like the one y'all saw, the old one where the guy asked Mark Zuckerberg, "How does Facebook make money?" And he said, "Senator, we run ads." It's like you think he about to bust up Facebook and he asking questions like that?
Like he don't even know. Like he like what kind of question is that? Like how do y'all make money? What you think, dummy? Nah, we just give it's a free website. Free come play. They just so happen to donate.
Exactly.
Like, they don't even understand.
Wow, this is very interesting.
Very interesting.
Management $8 billion and $32 billion, and then they have a difference because he wants to give equity, and Jamie's Schwartzman's like no, and then they separate. But influence of politics, you get into business, you're a billionaire. It's you, Soros. So I'm extremely concerned about what these guys are up to, and we think our president is the most powerful person. That person's not, because behind closed doors are going to be like, look, guys, let's relax. That guy's only going to be there for 4 to 8 years. We're going to be all right. He'll be out. We're running the world. We're okay. We were running America, but now we're running the world. We control all the ETFs in America. We're controlling all this stuff. Everyone has to come through us, and we can tell everybody what to do because everybody fears not getting money from us, from being downgraded. A Tesla on ESG score is nothing, but a Philip Morris gets an A rating. How the hell the company that's Philip Morris has a better environmental social governance score, DEI, not DEI, but the CI, the score they give it over Tesla? So they can bully some of these guys.
Let me ask you this. What do you think the goal of ESG is? Why do you think they're establishing these sort of parameters? Like why is ESG a thing, and what's the benefit of it for them?
So Schultz said something very interesting. Schultz says, look, these guys are driven by money. They're not going to do anything to destroy an economy, to lose their own money, because they want that. I said, okay, so very good. Andrew Schultz. I said, that's a very good point, on what you're saying. Fine. So, you know how sometimes Michael Jackson, you see the interview with him with kids. Oh, they're just sleeping in the bed. That's all it is. And we're just having a great time, and we're storytelling. And like, yeah, bro, I get it. It's a little weird. You got a 7, 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid sleeping in your bed, and, all this stuff. And it's a little bit fishy what you're talking about here. It's not normal. Well, if you're in Hollywood and you've slept with as many people as these people sleep, and then eventually you have to have other options, because what else do you do? You have to try new things. How many threesomes have you had? How many this, how many that? So you start trying all these other things, and sometimes these guys go to such and such place. Doesn't matter. It's kind of weird and fishy, right, on what you want to do. Great. Okay. So why are these guys doing what they're doing? You have all the money in the world. You live in $100 million house. Not you, Larry Fink and some of these guys. I don't know if he lives in a $100 million house, but you got the money to live in $100 million. What else do you need?
Right.
You got nice cars. Jamie Dimon's got a $900 million art collection, according to an article. It's a nice art collection, right? You go to all the nice restaurants. You meet prime ministers. You meet presidents. And then maybe there comes a time when you're looking at a couple of these guys, they're presidents and prime ministers, and you tell yourself, I'd be a better president than you, bro. How the hell am I not reading the country? Or they tell themselves, you think you're a president? You're not a president. You work for me. What else is the motive?
But ESG, how does that factor into
But the point is control is what I'm saying. So the motive becomes control more than money. After you have all the money in the world, what's next?
Exactly.
God's
It's got to be
complex.
control or a true vision.
It's got to be the God complex.
So
Exactly.
After you have all the money in the world, and what's next?
This reminded me, and I don't know, we can edit this out if this isn't a good pivot, but this reminded me of a different video that PBD did with Andrew Tate. When Tate was talking about how, like, I'm the last person that would, like, do some, like, sex trafficking type stuff.
Right.
Because, like, I can get any girl I want all the time anyways.
Ooh.
It's the ones that, like, that
Don't get it.
They don't get it. They be like shooting up schools and all that
Right.
and stuff
'Cause it
like
only
that.
makes sense. It only makes sense.
And I was like, and I thought, I was like, exactly, it's true. I was like, I wish Pat would have played devil's advocate just for the sake of the interview,
Right.
and bring up basically like exactly what he brought up. Like,
Right.
well, to play devil's advocate, that's exactly why somebody like you would do something like that, because it's so easy to get girls and all that. That's already so easy.
Right.
That's not thrilling for you. Like
It's not.
It's
not a thrill. It's not.
It's
You
not
don't get an
thrill, it's not a
adrenaline
chase.
rush.
You don't get an adrenaline rush out of that. And
So that's why you would do it.
and so that's why
Ooh,
somebody
good
like
point,
you
good
would
point.
do. I'm not saying you have or nothing, but just playing devil's advocate, like, no,
You
that-
want to
that-
take it now.
That would exactly.
You want to take it
exactly.
now. I could get it. That's not. I don't get excited about getting it no more.
Exactly.
But let me take it from you though. Let me take it.
Exactly.
Gotcha. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
And you hear about like athletes or something like that, like whether they're married or not, like, oh wait, what? They paid for a prostitute? Why would they do that?
The thrill of it.
Their name, it's a different thrill. It's a
Something else.
chasing the high. It's something else.
It's a different high.
No, that's exactly why it's something like you would, because it's so easy that it could be boring sometimes.
Right. It's like why people know, like, hey man, you probably don't want to do hard drugs. Then they start with weed. Then that ain't enough.
Great example. Exactly.
Then they go to coke. Then that ain't enough.
Exactly.
Then they next thing you know, they doing heroin. They doing all
Yep.
kind perks,
Yep.
everything, because it ain't enough. There's
Yep.
always
and
something
then
else
multiple at the same time.
at the same
exactly.
time. Crazy.
Soros, when you're talking ESG, that story is a completely different story. You ever heard Soros' interview with 60 Minutes where he says, I see myself as a god? Have you ever seen this interview or what he says?
No.
Really?
He said he sees himself as a god.
Oh, my God. Jamie, do you mind pulling up the quote? I think it's, if you type in LA Times Soros God. If you type in LA Times Soros God, when you hear what he says, it's like the second to the last paragraph all the way to the bottom. The guy asks a question, about who he views himself as. I want to quote it properly, exactly what he says in this
Is there
interview.
a video of him saying
Yeah, 60 minutes. There's a video as well. So if you go all the way to the bottom, go a little bit higher on the
BBD
quote.
running this
About
podcast.
reason next to my friends.
Well, he knew what to expect
Go a little
going
higher,
on Joe Rogan. He
a
like,
little higher,
I'm going to tell you exactly where it's second to last paragraph, because I know you go pull it up.
Keep going higher.
This is exactly what I Googled.
Keep going higher. Keep going higher. Keep going higher. Prevailing values. A little higher. A little higher. There's a part where he says, keep going. What year is this article, by the way? Is this it's an old article. It's supposed
October
to be
2004.
That's the one. This is the one. Okay, right there. It seems that Soros believes he was anointed by God. I fancied myself as some kind of a god. If truth be known, I carried some rather potent messianic fantasies with me from childhood, which I felt I had to control. Otherwise, they might get me in trouble. And then on the next line, when asked by Britain's independent newspaper to elaborate on the passage, Soros says, it is sort of a disease when you consider yourself some kind of a god, the creator of everything, but I feel comfortable about it now since I began to live it out.
Ooh.
Wow.
And they like that. Bro, what you think, bro?
Wow. I mean, I've already heard about a lot of stuff, but I never heard it broken down like
this.
To hear in detail, like how specifically and how complete and total like control that they have, and for you to feel like like you can't argue that. How can someone say that does not equate to total and utter control when you
own everything?
When you are the largest shareholder, which means shareholder means owner. You are the largest owner of the largest companies
in America.
In America.
Like, how do you? And then some people will be like, this sounds like a conspiracy theory. How is it a conspiracy theory if it's a fact?
Like, think about, like, if you were the majority owner of even your own company, what would you do? You do whatever you want to do.
You would control the company.
You would control the company.
You control the company
with your vision and your ideas and whatever. And it's something that if you didn't like something, boom, it's not going to fly in your company. Now imagine, a small group of people controlling
all the companies.
All the companies. Doesn't that like make you at least like
question
at least a little bit
about all the stuff that you've heard
right
in life? Like, this is insane. Like, they run everything.
It makes you question, okay, like, what do people like want me to know?
Right.
Because if you control everything, you control the marketing and media, all that. It's like, okay, well then what do they want me to know? Because I now know they control everything.
Right.
What do they want me to know?
Right. And then another thing is also you be like this, dang, I thought I knew, but what is it that I don't know? That's a good question. Because a lot of people think they know. And then, you got those people that want to know. So, for example, like me and you, we want to know. That's why we'll do our research, we'll listen, because we're like, at the end of the day, we're not trying. I'm not into this stuff like it's crazy to me. I don't want to be controlled.
Right.
I don't want to be controlled. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
There's some people who are like this. They'll just close their ears and say, I don't want to know. I don't care. Whatever. I'm going to just go whatever they tell me.
Bliss to an extent.
To an extent, it is. But then also those people end up being the people that hurt the most people. Because think about the people that you would, like when Hitler was like, oh man, like I said that word, and I don't know about YouTube. They don't like that word. They about to come at it is what it is.
The old leader of Germany.
Old leader of Germany, that man.
With the mustache.
Think about it. If more people knew what he was trying to do, less people would have died.
Right.
The more he relied on ignorance.
Wow. Yep.
So when people say, I don't want to know.
That's not helping.
That's not helping.
World or society.
You're not helping the world. You're not helping society.
You got to be informed.
You have to be informed. As uncomfortable as it is to know. Because once you see this, you start thinking like, what can I do? And you're like, you start to feel powerless. Like, what am I going to do? The thing that I say is like, we all got to make some money. Number one, you got to make money. You got to try to gain a little bit of control of your life. That's how I look at it in my life. Like, that's why being an entrepreneur for you is so important.
Yes.
Right? Like you gain some control back in your life. Yes. The more of us that gain control back from stuff like this, the less powerful these people become.
Right.
Because if you want to control people, you want people who are docile, easy to control. It's harder to control somebody like that's out there making money for themselves. It's harder to control somebody that doesn't need to ask you for a lunch break. It's harder to control.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
And ultimately, it's like without the cooperation of people, no one has any power. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to start nothing, but I'm just using for example, say like even like a government, any government, it's like the people technically outnumber the government. And
we outnumber the government.
So it always comes back to what the people allow in terms of control. But like you said, like if they don't even want to know, then they will allow themselves to be controlled easier and for more things.
It's a lot to think about, man.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful video.
Powerful, man. Listen, comment, drop a like, share this with somebody that you know, man. We're going to be dropping a lot more content, man. And again, Remy TV, let them know.
Sandman.
Yes, sir. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I don't know how much you can enjoy listening to this. But yeah, man, we'll see y'all on the next one.
God bless. Have a good one.
God bless.